Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie and I'm your host for today's show. Now, the last match preview I did was the Champions League game between Napoli and Liverpool. And to say the least, it's probably a game to forget for us Liverpool fans, as it felt like a nightmare. But having said that, I have to say that it was one of the worst performances I've seen under Klopp. And it wasn't just because of the scoreline. For me, it's a little bit bigger than that. I think our level of play right now, so far this season, is very worrying. We're playing a high line, but without really pressing from the front, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. The transition from our defense to attack is pretty much non-existent right now. Our fullbacks are not providing enough width, in my opinion, and they're not really executing the crosses the way they were last season. So the quality of service hasn't been great so far this season. Midfielders, for me, they're not covering the fullbacks whenever they're attacking. So that leads to players like Trent being exposed on the right-hand side. And when you've got advanced midfielders such as Elliott in the midfield, we're going to get exposed. So it's another area where we're at a weak point right now, to be fair. And speaking of midfield, they're not playing as a unit, in my opinion. The games are flying past them. There's no cohesion. They're losing every battle on the pitch, whether that's physicality or tackles or aerial challenges. It's just not happening whatsoever. It's like we've got a gearbox right now that doesn't go above first gear. We're literally stuck in the mud right now. So another unusual trait that's happened this season is that there's too many individual areas from our centre backs. So for them, they need to go back to basics and keep it simple, especially Gomez, who had an awful game last week. In terms of our attackers, Diaz and Salah, they've been playing too wide, in my opinion. They should be inside forwards. I have a feeling this is more of a tactical move due to the signing of Nunes, but I feel like teams have figured us out. And it more or less needs to be binned from now on. The tactic was in place for Nunes, but he's hardly played due to suspension and not really getting up to speed with the level of play that we require from him right now. So it shouldn't be deployed, in my opinion, at this stage. But in general, right now, I think the team needs to go back to basics, and that's every single player. There's no one that's, for me, done well. I think one or two maybe deserve a mention, but I don't feel like as a collective they've done very well. So what should they do to rectify the poor form that we've shown? Work hard, press, show intensity in their play, and use their energy to unsettle the opposition. Show some fight, show some aggression. We're getting bullied by Anguissa, for example, who couldn't even make it into the Fulham team at one point. So these players are playing at the highest caliber in Europe right now, so they should be competing against these type of players. So main point is we're better than this, so we need to show it. And we've got a game against Ajax, who could be the perfect opposition to change our fortunes. I say this because Ajax are traditionally a team that play high press and possession football. So going up against a team that's more technical and play on the offensive could help Liverpool as we struggle to play against low block oppositions. Or it could go dramatically pear-shaped and we get demolished in similar fashion to how it happened last week against Napoli. But God forbid for that to happen. We'll soon find out. The match takes place tomorrow. No news of any cancellations, thank God. So excited to see some football back on the TV screen. But let's have a quick look at the Ajax team. Before I do, just got a few comments here. So got a comment from Ravi. Yo, just need to go back to basic because that is what we are not doing well right now. Completely agree. My man with a whole tub of Bill cream in his head. Nah, this is natural, mate. I think it's the lighting that's shining on my head right now, making it look a bit shiny for you. But yeah, it is what it is. But back to the team. Ajax. So first in in their division, which is no surprise. 6 out of 6 wins. They've scored 20 goals, 3 goals conceded. The first win in their group stage was 4-0 against Rangers in the first group match. They're on fire right now. And in terms of personnel, a lot of their players departed in the summer. But regardless, they're doing amazing. So the likes of Anthony, who you've probably seen for Manchester United, as well as with Sandro Martinez. You've got Haller, who went to Dortmund. Gravenberch went to Bayern Munich. Shears, who I actually didn't realize left the club. He's gone to Torino. Tagliafico as well. He's left the club. Mazuraya, free transfer to Bayern Munich. And Onana, who's gone to Inter Milan. So these were some really, really top players that have left the club. But nevertheless, I think they've recruited well this summer as well. They've signed Bergwijn, who, if you've seen him in action recently, looks amazing. Bassi, who had a fantastic season for Rangers last year. Wijndal is a flamboyant left back they signed from Feyenoord, I believe. Brobbey as well. Conceição from Porto. And a surprise on Lucas Acompas from Lyon. Sorry, not Lyon, Sevilla on loan. So some top recruits there, in my opinion. I think they got a lot of money from Manchester United, so they're probably grateful in that regards. But nevertheless, I think the league is questionable in terms of its competitiveness, but you play in terms of what's in front of you. So they've still got good quality in their squad, and for me, they will be a problem for anyone in Europe. I think that's the kind of caliber of the team Ajax are. I watched their last game against Heerenveen, where they won 5-0, and they were fantastic. Some great goals, including the second one, which was sweetly hit by Kenneth Taylor with his left foot. It was a well-executed free kick from Tadic and Bergwijn there. But in terms of their starting lineup or their squad, for me, the danger man in their team is the Ghanaian international, Mohamed Kudus. He's only scored 3 goals in 6 games so far this season, but he's one of those players who's very active around the box, and I think he'll get plenty of goals this season. If you see him in action, he's still very raw, 22 years of age, but he has great technique, speed, dribbling ability, plays with a lot of flair. So, he's got bags of skill and trickery. He's got a decent shot on him as well, which was evident against Rangers, where he scored a fantastic left-footed shot, posting in. So he's got finishing ability on him as well. So for me, he would be the main danger man that I'll look at during the game. I think he's an exciting talent. I'm sure a lot of the Europe's big teams are keeping a close tab on him, because I think there was interest from Everton. I think they rejected a bid for him as well. So I think there'll be a lot more teams than Everton going for his signature in the next window or so. But looking at the Ajax squad itself, I think they still have plenty of quality. I mentioned to you Bergwijn, who we're all familiar with, former Tottenham player, playing with a lot of confidence right now. 6 goals in 6 games. Tadic, who we know as well from Southampton, great technical player. Berghaus, who's a right-footed player, can play on the wing, but has been playing in the centre mid position, kind of similar to Elliott in that regards. So he's another player. A compass I mentioned as well, on loan from Sevilla, and Brobbey as well, who's scored 3 goals in 6 games so far this season. So a good option for them to have coming off their bench. In terms of team news for Ajax, the only concern they would have is one of their new signings, Wijndal, has just returned to full training, but is unlikely to feature. So I think it'll be too soon for him to see him in action in this game. Bassi limped off against Heerenveen early in the weekend, but is in contention to start this game. So before I speak about Liverpool, I'll give my predicted lineup for Ajax. So I think their lineup will be Pasveer, who's their goalkeeper. They play a back 4, so coming for Wijndal. I would say Bassi and Timber. Timber, if you're not familiar with him, is a very highly rated centre back. So you'll get to see him tomorrow in terms of action. Wrench as well, for me, fantastic fullback. More or less like the complete player, not complete player, but I think he's got a great balance in terms of defense and attack. Can do a bit of everything. So another player to look out for. Alvarez, who was actually initially signed as Delit's long-term replacement, is now playing more advanced, playing as a defensive midfielder. Scored the other day with a header as well. So I think he's taking off Lissandro Martinez's mantelpiece in terms of being the main guy of that team or the heart of the team, as they have very similar traits. I think Klaassen will play in this game. He didn't play in the Champions League, but I think he will play in this game. Kenneth Taylor as well. I think he'll stay in the team. And the front three will be Tadic on the right, Bergwijn on the left, and Kudus as well. So, look, not an interesting team, and it will be very, very difficult to beat them, to say the least. Just got a couple of comments here from Ravi. We need to have a combative midfield and defense if we can. 100% agree with that. Will Joe Matip play? So let's give you some team news now. So from what I've heard, Matip is available, so he is in contention to play. Unfortunately, Robertson is injured and won't be able to play until after the international break. So that tells me it'll be probably about 3 to 4 weeks before we see him back in action. Jones, Konate, Henderson, Keita, and Oxlade-Chamberlain are still absent. Carvalho, however, is back in training, which is great news, so he should be available. So I don't think he'll start, but if I was to present my predicted lineup, I think Alisson will start and goal for obvious reasons. Back four will be Simicas, Virgil van Dijk, and I would play Matip in the heart of defense. I think after Gomez's poor performance last week, he needs to be out of the limelight, in my opinion. So Matip looks fully fit, has made a couple cameos from the bench, so should be able to start this game. And Trent Alexander-Arnold on the right-hand side. Midfield, I've gone for Fabinho. We don't really have much of a number 6 option in the squad, so his position is pretty much safe there. Midfield, I've gone a bit adventurous, so I think Thiago should start and should play. And I think Arthur Melo should get his full debut in this game as well. Some might say it's a bit too soon, but for me, I think Elliot, he's done well. Don't get me wrong. I've given him a lot of praise in my last few episodes, but I don't want it to where we burn the young kid out as well. He's 19 years old. It's too much pressure to just put him on the pitch to play one of our midfield. For Liverpool Football Club, we've got high expectations of our players. And I think for his own personal development, to play him week in, week out, and at a team that's not really performing, it might not be the right time to do that for him. So I think a step away from this match would be my decision on this, but we'll see how Klopp sets up the midfield tomorrow. Excuse me. And front three, I'll go for Salah and Diaz on the left, and I will actually start with Jota. So I think that will be the one where a lot of people will have a different opinion. I think some would want to start Firmino, as been a bit more consistent in his display. Nunes, because he's obviously got a big price tag and should be more effective in European football. But then for me, Jota is the guy that I feel like should be starting this game. He's just come back from injury. I feel like we've missed him a lot this season. His goals, obviously, but in terms of his direct play, our attackers haven't really played in that manner. So his finishing is underestimated as well because he gets headers and all that sort of stuff. So he's fully fit now. So I believe he should be starting this game, in my opinion. But who knows? Remains to be seen. But before we conclude, score prediction. So have to be brutally honest, I'm not hugely confident where I've got my chest high and saying, that we're going to beat this team in great fashion. It's not the case. I think with the game cancellation last week against Wolves, I'm hoping that gives us a slight advantage in terms of regrouping as a squad and maintaining fitness. So I'm going to go for a narrow 2-1 win for Liverpool. I think the goal scorers will be Jota, Diaz, and I think Kudus might score for Ajax. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Uh, is my prediction a bit too bold considering how terrible Liverpool have been? Got to show a bit of optimism for your team. But I think it will be a close game. I think it will be a game that doesn't have too many goals. So that's why I've gone for a 2-1 to Liverpool. So fingers crossed that's the case. But that concludes the show for tonight. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of my next content coming up, which actually will be tomorrow. So I'll be doing a show after the game. It'll be around 11 p.m. UK time. So make sure to tune in. Thank you to Ravi for the comments today. Until next time, everyone, take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all very soon. Good night.